Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. So again, we're continuing this series of really quick summations of Canadian law, constitution, all that good stuff that's typically seen as very boring and hard to get through. So just share these videos to get the broad strokes of what all this stuff is. In today's thing, we're going to talk about the Supreme Court because I'm tired of people not fully understanding how the thing works here in Canada. So again, in hopefully around 5 minutes, here's the thing. Supreme Court of Canada before 1867 doesn't exist because there was no Canada before 1867. All those laws had to be brought up with, I believe, the Privy Council in London, England, because British Empire and all that jazz. Hi everyone. Quickly popping in here to make a correction to this video. I said that in 1867, that's when the Supreme Court of Canada was created. I was mistaken in that there were amendments proposed, but it wasn't actually implemented. Instead, the Supreme Court of Canada was created in 1875 with the Supreme Court Act. And that's what finally got us our Supreme Court. Anyway, back to the video. So the Supreme Court of Canada is formed and kind of just goes along for a while, but then its importance and relevance in Canadian society drastically changes in 1982 with the patriation of the Constitution, because now with the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the court's interpretation of constitutional law and these freedoms, and with the notion of the Constitution of Canada being treated as a living tree document, meaning it grows and changes with the society that it represents, this meant that the Supreme Court now had a far more public and omnipresent role in everyday Canadian political life. And many times they rule against the government. So let's talk about that. Supreme Court justices are not appointed by the Prime Minister, they are appointed by the Governor General, serving as the Governor General in Council, which is basically a representation of the Queen's Privy Council as represented by the Governor General in the stead of Her Majesty, because Her Majesty doesn't live here. Canada's a monarchy, we'll get to that later. So in terms of how the Supreme Court justices are appointed, it's on the advice of the Privy Council. Who appoints members of the Privy Council? That's where it gets a little shady. Usually it's on the advice of the Prime Minister, which is why the Prime Minister tends to have a lot of power and influence and authority in Canada and traditional Westminster-style parliamentary democracies. But ostensibly, they're supposed to be an independent body that advises what you would call a portion of the executive branch of Canada in this case, which is the monarchy. And the representative of the monarchy, which is the Governor General. And that's why they have the Governor General and Council, which ultimately at the end of the day goes off of their advice and appoints justices. There are 9 justices. I think they used to sit forever, but now I think it's like the same thing with the Senate. They're forced to retire at 75. So real quick, some of these major court cases that they hear now deal with rights of equality, Aboriginal rights. They didn't used to do that before because, again, pre-1867 and also pre-1982 and pre-1931, most of those tenuous legal matters were handled by the British because we didn't have full legislative independence. So in terms of its real power and influence, the Supreme Court of Canada is a very new thing. And, I don't know why exactly, but they wear robes that make them look like Santa's helpers or like the Grand Council of St. Nicholas representatives. It's ridiculous. It's a farce. I mean, it's hilarious. It's very Canadian, but also kind of silly, which is really just par for the course for Canada, isn't it? A realm of silliness and imported British things, but with weird American flares thrown in here and there. And that's what we're going to get to in the next one. But in broad strokes, that's kind of how the Supreme Court of Canada works, and a very oversimplified summation of their history. And the fact that people think that this is too complicated or too controversial when, again, really, it's not, is what's bothering me today.